Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some updates coming out from the Kursk region of Russia to share with you. We're going to do another update video letting you know what's going on over here with the Ukrainians pushing into the Kursk region of Russia. This offensive has been going on for 8 days now. I can't believe it's been 8 days. I don't know why. In one of my last videos, I thought we were at like 5 or 6 days. That shows how much has happened here in just the last week. There's just been crazy amounts of advancements that the Ukrainians have made into the Kursk region. We just reported yesterday that the Ukrainians took control of 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory just in the Kursk region alone, and that was announced by Alexander Sursky. That's him right there on the screen for you. And now we've got reports that apparently the Ukrainian army has advanced another 40 square kilometers. Okay, so now they control 1,040 square kilometers of Russian territory. So they are advancing very, very quickly. And this lines up with some of the other things we've been talking about today. I put out a video earlier letting you guys know that Belarus was sending military equipment to Russia, and they were sending it over there as quickly as they could, as Russia is completely falling apart and struggling to stop the Ukrainian army from advancing in the Kursk region. So absolutely insane. And some of the big news here that was reported in this video that you're watching, this came out today. Alexander Sursky briefing Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. You can see Zelensky seems very happy to hear this news that Ukraine now controls 74 settlements inside of the Kursk region. So absolutely huge for the Ukrainians. They're doing very well in this offensive into the Kursk region. So let me go and jump into some of this news for you. I've got a lot of things to cover coming out from Kursk. So let's start here with Nexta and talk about this, what we were just discussing. Just in, 74 settlements in Kursk region are under the control of the AFU. Alexander Sursky, the AFU commander-in-chief, reported this to the president of Ukraine. Despite the difficult, intense fighting, the advance of our forces in Kursk region continues. The exchange fund for our state is replenished, said Zelensky. The AFU captured the same area of Russian territory in a week as the Russian army has captured in Ukraine since the beginning of the year, the publication agency noticed. Isn't that insane? If that happens to be true, the Ukrainians captured the same amount of territory in Russia that Russia has captured in Ukraine since the beginning of the year. They did that in 8 days, guys. That's absolutely crazy that they were able to do that. Alexander Sursky, the AFU commander-in-chief, noted in a report to Zelensky yesterday that the AFU controlled 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory. Today, he said that the Ukrainian army had advanced another 40 square kilometers. This is almost as much as the Russian army has occupied Ukrainian territory since the beginning of the year, according to Deep State. So that's pretty insane that Ukraine is able to capture, been able to capture that much territory inside of Russia. And this shows how caught off guard and how unprotected the borders of Russia and Ukraine really are, that they are so focused on this war down on the eastern side of Ukraine, controlling all these annexed territories. There's so much pressure being put on the Russians down there that they have left their border wide open, and Ukraine just freely walked in with how many troops? So we heard something like somewhere between like 2,000 and 5,000 troops actually stormed into the Kursk region. So it's not like it was a major fighting force that really pushed in, but I think it just shows how unguarded and how unexpected Russia was when it came to this invasion of their country. Okay, so let's move on to Bliskovka. Ukraine and the Russian Federation plan to maintain gas supply through the Sudza gas intake station in the Kursk region in the midst of hostilities, says Bloomberg. Both parties have financial incentives to ensure that the fuel does not stop coming in, the message reads. And so this was pretty big news too, right? We talked about this at the beginning of the invasion, that Ukraine had taken over a key gas station facility that transports liquefied natural gas coming from Russia through Ukraine over to Central European nations. And this was a big deal as to whether Ukraine was going to take control of this. Were they going to stop the flow of gas to Europe? What was going to happen? But it looks like Ukraine wants to allow gas to flow to Europe, and they're just going to control it for right now. So that's pretty big news when that came out. So let's move on again to Bliskovka. This is what I talked about earlier. So if you didn't see my video, I just kind of wanted to reference this real quick. Lukashenko transfers Russian military equipment from his own active units, local mass media. with a request to transfer part of the equipment the Russian Federation turned to Belarus after the successful actions of the armed forces in the Kursk region, as it was faced with an acute shortage of weapons both in this direction and in others. So basically what this is reading is the Belarusians have sent their own military hardware that are active military, equipment, okay, what they're using in their own country right now. They have had to send it and rush it over to the Russians, send it over to them quickly, as Russia's basically struggling to stop this Ukrainian offensive happening in the Kursk region. We've seen lots of video footage coming out of tanks being destroyed on transport trailers, on trucks, before they can even get them off their trucks. I mean, Russia is completely panicking right now, and I'm sure Vladimir Putin is very worried, considering that this offensive is pushing in so quickly to the Kursk region, and the Russians are having a very hard time stopping them. So Belarus sent some military hardware over to them to help them out, and that's obviously a big sign that Russia's running short on equipment if they're having to borrow from Belarus. So I wanted to talk about that real quick. Also, let's move on to Igor Sushko. This came out yesterday. I just wanted to share this with you guys. This was in Kiev, in the capital of Ukraine. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham is recruiting trained F-16 pilots for Ukraine from all NATO nations. If you're a retired F-16 pilot and you're looking to fight for freedom, they'll hire you here. Okay, so he's on a campaign mission trying to promote the idea that if maybe like retired U.S. Air Force members want to come and fight for freedom and volunteer to fly F-16s for Ukraine, they will hire them here, or really any NATO nation. It's not just the U.S. Anybody that wants to come fly for Ukraine, considering that they have a major shortage of pilots for these F-16s in Ukraine. So take a look at this.
What I think about Kursk, bold, brilliant, beautiful. Keep it up. Putin started this, kick his ass. Bottom line is to the administration, I appreciate your support. Let these people fight. Give them weapons they need to win a war they can't afford to lose. When it comes to F-16s, way too long. They're here. Let's use them. Let's train Ukrainian pilots. When I talked to President Zelensky just a few minutes ago, if you're a retired F-16 pilot and you're looking to fight for freedom, they will hire you here. They're going to look throughout NATO nations for willing fighter pilots who are retired to come help them until they can get their pilots trained. So we're going to get these jets in the air sooner rather than later, and we're looking for pilots who are willing to fight for freedom as the Ukrainians train their own pilots. So my message is we need to be all in. Here's what I want to see happen in 2024.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there because it's a 2-minute video. I just wanted to get that main part in there of what he's talking about. So again, saying that Ukraine is hiring pilots from any other NATO nations, okay, that want to fly for Ukraine and fly their F-16s, okay? NATO's getting more and more involved in this war. This is very crazy to see this, but I see what they're doing here, and this completely solves the problem that Ukraine is having right now. Last I knew, they only had something like 6 pilots that were actually trained to fly these F-16s, okay? So if they start recruiting pilots from other nations, this will completely solve their issue, and we know by the end of the year they could have 20 or more F-16s in their country. So that is some very big news that came out yesterday. This wasn't even widely reported, but I wanted to share this with you because I thought this was absolutely huge. Very, very big news, and we may be seeing much more F-16 activity inside of Ukraine in the coming months. So let's move on here now to Igor Sushko. And he's got a post here that says, Russia, Ukraine Parliament MP Roman Kostenko, entered Kursk region. Okay, so he's also a military commander for the armed forces of Ukraine, but at the same time, he's a parliament member as well for Ukraine. So go ahead and take a look at this. He enters into the Kursk region, and we'll talk about this after.
Руслан Олексійович, я зараз знаходжусь перед Російською Федерацією. Вибачте вже, що без дозволу, але все-таки піду туди разом з нашими силами оборони, а потім уже напишу лист про відрядження. Слава Україні! Руслан Олексійович.
Okay, so look at that. Isn't that crazy? I mean, this shows right here that he could just freely walk into the Kursk region. flowing over the border into Russia. And something that I noticed, if you look up, look at all the holes in the ceiling. I wonder if this was where a major battle took place and maybe they were being shot at from the sky here at this checkpoint. I have no idea, but it kind of looks like there's even bullet holes all over the place. Look at these holes here. I don't know if that's just from the structure falling apart, but it definitely looks like bullet holes to me, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were. Just something to note. So let's go ahead and move on here, guys. Also, next just in, security measures have been strengthened in Moscow due to the threat of sabotage groups' infiltration. Kremlin media reports that police officers in Moscow and the Moscow region have been warned about possible attempts to seize their weapons. Okay, so this is something really widely being talked about right now as well, that there's possible sabotage events that could be happening throughout Russia. And maybe this could be a huge turning point for Vladimir Putin. Who knows? Something crazy is definitely going to happen over here at some point. I think most people can see that. Whether that, is the Ukrainians pushing into the Kursk region or Russia retaliating some sort of way, or maybe some sort of destabilization within the Russian government. They're definitely preparing for something major to go down here. And this is something that's been talked about a lot lately over the last few days. There could be sabotage events happening, not only, with the Russian government, but maybe the military, the police, things like that. So I wanted to share that with you. Let's go ahead and move on again to Bliskovka. Ukrainian military captured Russian soldiers in Kurshina. Kurshina, I think is how you say it. It is reported that more than 1,000 prisoners were taken during the operation in the Kursk region. So I've got like multiple videos here again to show you more Russian troops surrendering to the Ukrainian army. Go ahead and take a look.
Как?
Шашуров Николай Вячеславович.
Откуда родом?
С Ярославля.
Срочно.
Срочно.
Фамилия, имя, отчество.
Никитханов Малыгисла Академия.
Откуда?
Дагестана.
Дагестан. Что тут делаешь?
Я сам не знаю.
Курск это что?
Русская область.
Это Украина, правильно. Фамилия, имя, отчество. Что тут делаете?
Отправили служить.
Срочно?
Срочно.
Хорошо. Давай флаг Украины. Это ваш рабочий флаг, блядь. Давайте, вставай. Фамилия, имя, отчество.
All right, so it looks like we only have a couple soldiers here that were captured. Looks like at least 3 of them. But if you notice towards the end of this video, they made them hold up a Ukrainian flag and take a picture with them. I thought that was kind of funny. But this is crazy, guys. I mean, we see video after video coming out, tons of clips all over X of Russian soldiers surrendering in the Kursk region. It's absolutely crazy to see that the Ukrainians are pushing so quickly and catching all these Russian soldiers off guard. And they clearly were not ready for this if they had to surrender, okay? So take a look at this as well from Nexta. The Ukrainian armed forces have captured hundreds of POWs in the Kursk region. The unexpectedness of the operation of the Ukrainian army's invasion of Kursk region and the unpreparedness of the Russian military led to the fact that many of them were captured. This could be hundreds of people, many of whom are conscripts. Hundreds of Russian servicemen have been captured during the offensive, the Financial Times reported. After analyzing videos posted by Ukrainian units, a senior Ukrainian official also told CNBC about the hundreds of POWs who were taken by surprise. FSB border guards and regular defense ministry units were not prepared for the AFU attack. The deputy commander of a unit involved in the offensive with the call sign Pokemon told the Wall Street Journal that he expected tougher resistance. It was mostly children undergoing compulsory service. He said that the soldiers his squad encountered, 3 were captured, the youngest of whom were 19 years old, okay? So look at that. Many of these are just kids, and they're probably, back-end soldiers that are taken off of the front lines. They probably put their best on the front lines in the Ukrainian region on the eastern side of their country that are fighting in the Donetsk region, let's say Kharkiv, things like that. And they're probably putting these back-end soldiers, the bench warmers, basically, the younger kids in the Kursk region to defend these borders that they probably were not expecting to ever come under attack. They didn't think that Ukraine would ever launch this offensive. I mean, we saw this happen in Belgorod, where the Free Russia Legion fighters pushed in, and they did take over a couple towns shortly, but then we heard that situation was basically taken care of, and we heard about it for maybe 3 or 4 days, and it was kind of over with. But now this time is completely different. I mean, the Russians were definitely caught off guard here, considering that we see video after video and pictures like this of dozens and dozens if not hundreds of troops being captured in a very short amount of time. Okay, so let's move on. I've got another video to show you as well from Nexta. 30 Russian military personnel have been added to the exchange fund in the Kursk region, Ukrainian Telegram channels wrote. 25-second video of more troops, Russian troops, I should say, being captured by the Ukrainians. Take a look.
Брали полонених. 17 чоловік. Привіт. Ще раз партія Кум. Привіт. Курська область. За 2 ходки пацаны 30 типов взяли. Брали полонених.
So once again, more video footage of Russians surrendering to the Ukrainians. Looks like at least potentially a dozen of them here or more being transferred probably over to Ukraine. I mean, where is Ukraine going to house all these soldiers at? That's a big question. I mean, they've got to have a massive jail or some sort of building where they're going to hold them in. I mean, if we're talking hundreds or thousands of troops here, hopefully they have the space to house them and hold them as prisoner in the meantime. But very crazy, guys. Okay, let's move on. Also from Vicegrad24, here's one more video again. Ukrainian army has captured another group of Russian soldiers in the Kursk region. They destroyed 2 vehicles. Apart from POWs, there were also KIAs on the Russian side. Okay, 7-second clip. We'll look at this one as well. Okay, looks like at least 4 or 5 potential Russian troops that were captured here as well. So this is really insane to continue seeing this more and more video footage. Just wanted to share those with you, that we've got lots and lots of things indicating here that Russian soldiers continue to surrender to the Ukrainians. So let's keep moving. Also from Bliskovka, the Russians will evacuate parts of the residents of the Kursk region to the temporarily occupied territory of the Zaporizhzhia region. This was stated by acting governor of the Kursk Oblast, Smirnov. Okay, so Alexei Smirnov, I think we've been talking about him a lot lately. They're going to be transferring many of their citizens that be evacuated from Kursk over to the Zaporizhzhia region in Ukraine. So very interesting, okay? They're going to be sending them over to what was once, just before the start of this war, Ukrainian territory. They're moving from occupied territory that will soon potentially be occupied by the Ukrainians and transferred over to the Zaporizhzhia region. So this shows once again, if they're having to evacuate all these people, that the Ukrainians are moving very quickly. And what did we report just a few days ago? That they had to speed up some of their evacuation processes to move people out as quickly as possible, because the Ukrainians were just moving unbelievably fast. Okay, this was like a major blitzkrieg into the Kursk region. Okay, so finally I want to show you one last thing. We talked about this, I think it was in yesterday's video or the day before, no more than like 2 days ago. We were talking about possible Ukrainian jets in the skies over the Kursk region. I wasn't able to completely confirm that, but we've got this video coming out from the informant today that says a Ukrainian Su-27 was spotted flying at low altitude in the border region between Sumy and Kursk. Okay, so maybe not necessarily in the Kursk region, but very close to it on the border. This aircraft is equipped to carry advanced weapons, including the GBU-39/B, SDB, and JDAM-ER small diameter bombs of American origin, the French AASM-250 hammer-guided bombs, in addition to the AGM-88 HARM missiles. Okay, so 7-second clip of an Su-27 that is flying near Sumy and also the Kursk region. Take a look. All right, so this appears to be, for the first time, confirmation that I can get of Ukrainian fighter jets flying at least close to the Kursk region. I don't know if they're actually flying over Kursk at the moment, but it looks like here we've got them very close to the front line. So there is Ukrainian fighter jets flying over here. We have not seen any evidence of F-16s entering this area at all yet, because what we last heard as well from the F-16s, considering that they only have a handful of them, they probably don't have more than 5 or so right now that they can actually use at a time, considering that they're short on pilots. But, we heard that they were using these F-16s more for defense at the moment because Ukraine is still coming under attack by missiles repeatedly, very often, that they were using these in the meantime until they start getting more of them to just kind of use to defend their country. I think they are going on some combat missions, but for the most part, being used in defense. Okay, so that's going to be it for today's update, though. Just wanted to share what's going on over here in the Kursk region as of today, August 13th, 2024. Those are some of the latest updates that I've seen come out as of today. So you let me know what you think down below in regards to this update. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.